Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to continue our scholarly examination of War Against Crime, the EC comic from 1948. This is number 3, and we have a Johnny Craig cover. Not very thrilling or enticing. I can't imagine anyone seeing this on the stands and being like, ooh, I gotta have that issue. But it's well drawn. It's Johnny Craig, you know. We start off with Frisco Florey, the Queen of the Barbary Coast. This is drawn by Lee Ames. And I kind of like Lee Ames' stuff. He's got some good panels here and there. Not always, though. But I'm sure if he took his time, he could do some really good stuff. Here's Frisco Florey and her assistant, Tom. I love her shoes here. Those are very stylish. So she lives in San Francisco, of course. And she owns this bar. And it's one of those Shanghai bars. So this captain comes in. And he's like, Florey, I need 2 guys pronto. I'll pay double. And she's like, yeah, you will for a rush job. And there's these 2 guys in her bar. She slips a Mickey into their drinks. And she drugs them. If the drug doesn't work fast enough, Tom just comes up from behind and conks him on the head with a cudgel. And then there's this trap door in the back room, and they just throw him right into this boat, and Tom rows him out to the ship, and he gets the money. I really like the way he draws Tom, especially in that panel. I love that. So, we find out from her dialogue with one of these captains, she's a tough cookie when she's negotiating. She doesn't take any bullshit. So one night, Tom's getting pretty drunk. They've got this big order, and no one's coming into the bar. And Tom's just like, fuck that. I'm just going to go out and grab a couple guys off the street then. Man, that's great. And she's like, you're drunk, Tom. You're too drunk. He's like, he'll get killed. So he says, well, come along then. Help me out. So they find 3 guys. And Tom starts beating him up. But he's too drunk to fight well. So they start beating him up. And Florey pulls out her gun and kills one of them. So at gunpoint, she leads the 2 guys to the docks. And Tom carries the corpse. They throw the corpse in with the 2 knocked out guys. And Florey figures that, like, they won't even find out he's dead till he's at sea. So we'll just pull a fast one on him. Still get paid for it. So we see this. She's becoming more and more cutthroat. Like, she's sending corpses out to these ships all the time now. She's like, yeah, we found this dead guy. We can sell him to the... cover up the wound and sell them to the captains. So one night they get a huge order. Like some captain needs like 15 guys. So she actually goes out with Tom to make sure everything goes smoothly. And the captain's all like, we're on to you. We know you've been unloading corpses on us. And we're tired of getting swindled. In fact, we're going to Shanghai your assistants here, your goons, and you. Tom tries to fight back, and they shoot him dead. I like this panel. She's fighting back. She's not going to be taken. So she's ready to take him on, but then she trips and falls over the side of the railing. And the captain says, guess old Florey can't swim. Looks like curtains for her. So once again, crime does not pay. Next, we see the case of the savage strong boy. And this is our first appearance in War Against Crime by Al Feldstein, who would later take over EC Comics. Al Feldstein's got such a weird style. It's not the most appealing style in the world. I don't think anyone lists Al Feldstein as his favorite artist. But it just reminds me of like that, you know, weird golden age wonkiness, Basil Wolverton, the crazy inking, weird faces. It reminds me of Bill Everett too, a little 50s Bill Everett. I think this looks great though, this comic. I mean, really just bizarre. So basically, we're introduced to this woman, Eloise Weller. She's a criminal, and she just pulled off a jewelry store job. The heat's on her, so she's going to lay low for a while. So she decides to go to this podunk town and go to the carnival. She sees Willie here. Willie is the strong boy of the carnival. She convinces him to quit the carnival and join her operation. She's like, yeah, with your strength and my brains, we could go places. She basically offers him like 5 times as much money a week as he's been making. So he's like, I'm in. So as they leave, they pull into a gas station and they're like, hey, let's just rob it. And he's so fast and strong, he grabs the gas station attendant that he doesn't even see his face. He just comes up from behind him. So none of them can be identified. So Eloise is like, this is a great scam we got going. You grab the guys, they can't even see us. No one can identify us. This is going to be our breadwinner. So they continue to do this thing. And they make a lot of money. I can't imagine that Charles Burns didn't love these comics when he was a little kid. It's like so much of the inking, it's kind of very crisp and like almost robotic. But some of the faces are so wonky. Like, look at these 2 mutants down here. And look at her hair there. I don't know what kind of hairstyle that is. So Willie's got other ideas, though. Willie's like, hey, we've made plenty of money. Let's settle down and get a house, Eloise, and get married. And she's all like, you silly boy, we just started. I'm going to become queen of the mob. She's very ambitious. And it looks like she's not that into Willie. So she hires more goons. Her mob becomes bigger. They pull bigger operations like robbing banks and armored cars. And anytime a rival comes around, she's got Willie to break arms. And, everyone's terrified to go against her because they don't want to face Willie. He doesn't even need a gun. Sometimes when he's beating up these guys, it almost worries Eloise. She's like, hey, you kind of scare me when you get like that. Get under control. So they basically start a protection racket. All of these mobsters who are kind of on the lam, but they have a lot of money, they basically send them all greeting cards that say, pay us $20,000 or Willie's going to snap your neck. And we see in this little sequence, that's exactly what he does to this poor guy who didn't want to pay up. So we see this other mobster. He kind of works for her, but he's kind of high up in the organization. His name's Cookie. And he's basically like, tells her, I go for you, baby. You know that. What's about you and me getting spliced? I never heard that term before. Spliced. She's like, I don't dare, Cookie. Willie, he's so savage, he scares me. And Cookie says, he ain't so savage, he won't stop a .32 bullet. I'm going to go take care of him. And she says, I'll be waiting, Cookie. So she's kind of into him. So he does just that. The next night, he goes out, finds Willie, and shoots him right in the chest a bunch of times. And he even rubs salt in the wound. He doesn't even know if Willie can hear him, but he says, she never went for you at all. You were just a big, dumb, strong ox that she used to get to the top. It's me she goes for. So long, dead guy. But Willie's too strong for that shit. Even though he's shot 3 times, he crawls to his feet and stumbles all the way back to the apartment. that he shares with Eloise. And as he opens the door, he finds them embracing. So, of course, he's in a rage. He lifts the guy, Cookie, up over his head and just snaps his neck. That is pretty violent right there. Then he grabs Eloise and he jumps out the window, and they both plummet to their deaths. The Frankenstein monster Eloise Weller had created was her great success and her doom. We got the letter page, one of those little short stories to fulfill postal regulations. And then we get the last story, The Do-It-Yourself Kid and the Dimpled Doll. That's quite a title. This is drawn by Stan Ash. We've seen him before in War Against Crime. This guy's pretty primitive. He's doesn't really know his way around a pen and pencil very well. But it's kind of fun to look at. It's just kind of zany, his art. So basically it's about this kid, Joey. He's called the do-it-yourself kid because he never wants a partner and wants to do everything himself. And he also has this thing, he doesn't like women. He thinks women are no good. All he cares about is getting to the top of the mob. He doesn't want to be distracted. Doesn't want any woman stabbing him in the back or whatever. Here we go. Here's Joey, the do-it-yourself kid. And we see he's pretty brutal. He pretty much just kills all of his victims. The people he robs, he doesn't leave any witnesses. So he's hanging out at a bar afterwards. This woman basically says, "Hey, you could buy me a drink, big boy." And he throws his drink in her face. Look at that fucking, I don't know what's going on with those lips there. This Ash guy is kind of fun. He's kind of funny. This other guy comes to her defense, and Joey slugs him, knocks him out. And this other guy says, "Hey, he won't make any trouble. Come on, let's blow." And Joey thinks to himself, "Hey, that's Jiggs Barney, one of Squirremi's mobsters." So Squirremi's a big wheel in this city. So Jiggs tells him that the boss has his eye on the kid. You've been doing pretty good with that little lonesome style of yours. But the boss says you're cutting in on his territory. And Joey says, he can hire me. I got a right to live, right? He says, but first I'm going to pull a big job to prove to him he can't afford not to hire me. And he does this big job. Squirremi comes in. And he's like, "I thought Jiggs told you I don't like folks cutting in on my territory." And so his nickname is Scarface, the mob boss. And the mob boss is there with his girlfriend, with his frail. And she says, "He's cute, Scary." And he says, "Thanks, sister, but I don't go for women. They're poison." And Scarface likes the cut of his jib. So he says, "Yeah, I needed some guy like you, a good trigger man to be my bodyguard." But Selma, the girlfriend, she's so intrigued. She's like, "I never saw a man I couldn't get. We'll see. You know, this kid doesn't like dames. We'll see about that." So the kid rises up through the ranks. And one day he sees the boss's safe open, and there's all this money. He decides to take it. Figures he won't connect it back to him. But Selma sees. Another badly drawn Selma sees. And then Joey says to this guy, Checks, he's a kind of an underling. He says, "Come on, we got a job to do." And they take this car out. He says, "Pour gasoline all over it." And then he shoots him in the back. And then he lights the car on fire and pushes it over the cliff. And he's like, "So long, Checks. I'll tell Squirremy it was you that stole his 30 grand. And that's exactly what he does. It works perfectly. Scarface thinks that it's checks did the job. So basically, and right behind his back, Selma tries to woo Joey. She bought some expensive perfume. And he slaps her. And then she reveals to him, she's like, you shouldn't have done that. I know that you stole that dough. And then he kind of backpedals and he's like, oh, I just thought you liked it rough, babe. You know, maybe I could use a smart dame like you. I'll play along. So he's dancing with her at this nightclub. The boss just thinks it's funny. Get a load of the kid, what a dancer. And he's the guy that hated women, ha ha. So he mixes them a drink, the boss and Selma, and he poisons it. Seems kind of weird to do in a nightclub. And he says, I'll dump him in the river. But her perfume spills out of, that expensive perfume she bought to woo Joey, falls out of her purse, spills over everything. So he dumps him in the ocean. And when he comes back to his apartment, the cops are waiting. And they say, somebody bumped off Squirremy tonight. We're making a routine checkup. He's like, and hey, Joey, how come you smell like perfume that we found in an unstopped perfume vial on the bodies? And he's starting to sweat. And he's like, so what? I got perfume on. That doesn't prove I poisoned him. And they're like, nobody said anything about poison, you dumbass. You just talked yourself into the electric chair. And of course, once again, crime always pays with death. So don't commit crimes unless you can get away with it. Great ad by Jack Davis for the New Direction mags. Great cartooning. Okay, guys, that's it for War Against Crime number 3. Another pretty wonky, zany issue. Man, I find these more and more fun the more I read these. They're kind of dumb. The stories are all kind of like the same, but I don't know. There's something about them quite charming to me. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.